That will be convenient for you as well.
Yeah, sir.
Okay, so let us start our today's class. So you can see my screen clearly, right? Just once. Yeah. So it is visible clearly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Fine. So in the last classes, we were discussing on this steady state error, right? So this closed loop system we analyzed, then steady state error we calculated, and uh, we told or we derived that for type 0 system, if we apply the step input, so then you will get a finite steady state error. But type 1 onwards system, if we consider, there the steady state error will be 0. And then we introduced the concept of controller, and we introduced the example of this first order system, for example robot steering system. And there if we introduced a gain block which is acting as the proportional controller, so then what we have seen that if we didn't use the gain block or the controller proportional controller, so then the steady state gain was quite high. That is typically uh, even 60 70 in that range percentage wise. Whereas if we include the proportional gain proportional controller with gain 18, we have seen only the error was 10%. So then we introduced the concept of this PID controller. So where we told that basically PID controller is that controller logic, which is basically a combination of proportional effect, integral effect, and derivative effect. And proportional integral derivative of what? Of the error, right? So based on that, we have written this particular equations in this equations form, which is the output input relationship for the controller, specifically this PID controller, whose input is the error and output is the UT here. Okay. So then we discussed elaborately that if we consider a proportional gain, so where only this is my first order system k by 1 plus tau s, then simply a proportional gain kp if we consider, and then if we derive the closed form, that means the transfer function output by input, that is cs by rs. So then what we got? We got the expressions of cs is in this form. If we consider a step input with the value a, then the ct will be this one. And this so here in the previous classes in that slide some typing mistake was there, so that will be basically minus t by tau dash, is not it? So effectively this tau dash is tau by 1 plus kkp. So from here what we can see, and in this case what will be my that final value? The ideally my input is a. Okay, so input is a, that means this dotted line, that is the input. And if I look at this closed loop expression, and then if we put t tends to infinite, then what you will get? T tends to infinite means this exponential term will be 0, and your at the t tends to infinite, the steady state value will be a kkp by 1 plus kkp. So what does it mean? Ideally it should reach a, but because of this output expressions, what we can see that it cannot reach its original input a. Rather, the final value what it can go is up to a kkp by 1 plus kkp. That means which is less than a. Okay, and that means what will be the steady state condition? What will be the error? A minus this factor a kkp by 1 plus kkp. So that will give you this so that will give you the steady state error or the offset, which will come as a by 1 plus kkp, is not it? So from here what we understood, that proportional gain controller if we use, then what is happening? That although the system response is faster because your tau effective is getting reduced, so that means my system is becoming behaving faster than the open loop system, but it cannot make the steady state error 0. So there will be always a constant error. Fine. And that also we have derived, and we have introduced the concept of proportional band as well. Then what is our objective? So what we understood that using proportional controller, we could not make the steady state error 0, or we could not eliminate the steady state error, isn't it? So we have to introduce some another control logic, which is the integral control. So integral control, what we have done, our process is same, k by 1 plus tau s. Okay. And integral control, what we have used, suppose earlier the proportional controller, only that controller transfer function was kp. Here what will be the controller transfer function? Simple integral loop. So 1 by tau I s. Okay. So you know this integration. So basically here the block should integrate the error, right? So integration of et dt means es by s, is not it? So from that concept, 1 by s will be the integral controller transfer function, and here just tau I is multiplied, so tau I is the that controller parameter. Okay. So if I consider this particular closed loop transfer function, so then if I calculate this cs by rs, so basically you know, so we have that discussed in previous days class as well, that how the transfer function looks like basically, is not it? So what we have seen that suppose yeah, so here if I have suppose some r, and here you have this plus minus, so then here if I have this gc, then here you have this g, so then here you have this output that c, what we are saying. So then from here to here we are taking the feedback connections, right? So basically this c is here, so that c will come here, so this will be the error. So error equals to r minus c, that will be multiplied by gc and g, and then the output we will get. So we have already derived in the previous class. So c by r, that is the output by input, that will be what? G into gc divided by 1 plus g into gc. Because in the very beginning classes we have solved this, right? And there we did not use gc, so only g was there. So then we have found out that c by r was g by 1 plus g. Now g will be replaced by g into gc. Okay. So g into gc by 1 plus g into gc, that will be the closed loop transfer function. Okay. And what the error we got, if I calculate e by r, so then what we have found out, this if you remember, so basically this e if we write in capital E form, es, so es, that was equals to our what? Rs minus cs, or r minus c, is not it? So then again this e was our r minus c. Now c, what you can write? R minus c, again c will be equal to what? E into gc into g. So c you can write as gc into g into e, is not it? So then from here what I can write, the expression of es, that expression of es I could so that basically that es, you take common, so 1 plus g into gc, that was equal to your r. So from here you can write e by r, that is equals to what? 1 by 1 plus g into gc, is not it? So basically that e equals to your simply r minus c, where c is nothing but e into gc into g. So that if I write, so then es we are taking common, 1 plus ggc equal to r. So e by r equals to 1 by 1 plus ggc, right? So that is the expression, and that we can directly we are using here. Okay. So basically this this c by r, so this is your g into gc divided by 1 plus g into gc. And if you just write it, if you just simplify it, it will simply come as k by k plus tau is plus tau into tau I into s square. Okay. Now what will be the expression of es? Es will be 1 by 1 plus ggc, is not it? 1 by 1 plus ggc. So ggc means k into k divided by tau is into 1 plus tau s. So that we are getting here. And then ES by RS equals to this factor. Now RS is for step input, RS equals to A by S. If you multiply A by S, so then the ES will come as this. Now, what will be the steady state error? Limit S tends to 0, S into ES. So if you just multiply this one, so this is your expression of ES. Now, if you multiply with this S, so then this S and this S will get cancelled. So then in the numerator, you have a S multiplied factor. And if you put S equal to 0, then your steady state error will be 0. Okay. So that's why with the help of this integral control, we could eliminate the error completely. So it will give you completely error-free output. That means the output, how it looks like. So in the proportional controller, our response is something like this. Some finite error was always there. But in case of integral action, what will happen? There will be some oscillation will be there, and after some oscillation, the output will exactly track to my input value. That is the A. Okay. So that means after the settling time, the output will match with the input. That means the error will be 0. Okay. And here, what you can consider the error, basically that physically, if you try to understand. So suppose initially, what is your error? Reference minus output. So initially the output is 0 because output is starting from 0, right? So that means initially your error will be maximum. RS minus CS, the error will be maximum. Then gradually as the output will increase, so error will gradually reduce, fine? And since RS minus CS we are doing, so error will be positive till it will reach to the input value. Then because of the integral action means what? Integration of error. So that means
So you're muted, sir. Sir, you're not audible.
when from it got muted? Hello?
Just
Just
1
for a
minute.
little time. That's all.
Just for 1 minute or less than that?
Less than that.
Okay. Okay. So somehow. Okay. Yeah. So what we told that basically this integral actions we discussed. Now here what we are saying that just if we want to understand from physical aspects, so then what is happening? So basically this error error is initially the output is starting from 0, and then initially the error will be maximum. Then as the output will try to go towards the input, then the error will be gradually reduced, but the error value will still be positive till this point. After that, since the here the action is the integration of error is being happened, so integration means accumulation of the error, gradually it is accumulating. So that's why the output will cannot directly that stand at this particular input value. Rather, it will go beyond that value because error is gradually accumulating. Now, when it will go beyond this value, so then what will happen? Then the error will become negative because the output will be more with respect to the input. So error will become negative. Then the integration action is happening. So effectively again, after going up to certain value, it will again come down. Then again, it will go back because of this integral action. So it will have some sort of oscillation, and after a couple of oscillations, it will go to the steady state value, right? And at that positions, the output that error will be 0. Okay, so that is the physical understanding. Now, if we see, yes, so here again. On sphere and sphere. Yeah. Okay. So that is about the integral action. Now, if we combine the P and I together, so then what will happen? So P and I together means proportional plus integral. Okay. So then this controller transfer function will look like this one. Kp, that is the control, Kp plus Kp by tau I into S. Okay. So that means this first Kp corresponds to proportional and Kp by tau I S correspond to the integral. And that is the, we are doing the addition of this. So that will give you the proportional plus integral control. That is the PI control. Okay. Now, what will happen to this particular, this transfer function? So here directly we are writing the expression of error. Okay. Because in the error we are more interested. So, and you can also write the transfer function for CS by RS as well. Now just let us write the ES by RS. So what is the expression of ES by RS? 1 by 1 plus G into GC. Okay. So that's what we are putting. 1 by 1 plus G into GC means this one. GC is your Kp into 1 plus 1 by tau is, and G is K by 1 plus tau is. So that we are just multiplying, and if we just that simplify, it will come like this. Okay. Now this is your ES by RS. So then again, what you will do to find the steady state error, ES, that you multiply this RS with this, and RS will be your A by S. Is not it? RS equals to A by S. Then steady state error will be what? S tends to 0, S ES. So S and A by S, that S and by S will get cancelled. So A into this factor, and again here S is in the numerator. So if you put S tends to 0, again here you will get the steady state error value as 0. Okay. So since the integral action alone was giving the value 0 of the steady state error, if you use your P plus I, that will also give you the steady state error 0. Okay. So that we understood. Then you can ask, what is the difference between P and P plus I? So that we call this, we call as the PI control. Okay. So in PI control also we are getting the steady state error 0, but it has some other advantages as well. What is the other advantages? If you look at this characteristic equations, that is this denominator. So denominator, how it looks like, S square tau tau I plus 1 plus k kp tau I S plus k kp equals to 0. So same denominator you will get for this A as well. Your what is that? If you CS by RS, if we calculate. So what will be the CS by RS? G into GC divided by 1 plus G into GC. Okay. So then what you will get, that if you look at this that denominator, so then what you will get, that it will be a second order equations of this S. And you remember that while discussing about first order system and second order system, we told that in second order system, that damping factor and resonant, that natural frequency, these two parameters are very important, and how this damping factor defines the characteristic. Depending on the damping factor zeta value, you can have you remember this underdamped, overdamped, critically damped, undamped. So those type of responses we have shown in the graph, right? You remember? So there what we told, that that underdamped means, what we told, that undamped means complete oscillation, and underdamped means there will be also oscillations will be there, right? And after a couple of oscillations it will settle down. But overdamped means, it will be, it is very sluggish, and it will take long time to reach to the steady state value, right? So in case of underdamped system, now underdamped means, what we told, what will be the value of zeta? So can you tell what would be the value of zeta in case of underdamped system? What we told in previous classes?
Less than 1.
Yeah, so it is between 0 and 1. Okay. So 0 and 1. Now if you have less, suppose 0.1 zeta value, so that means what? Oscillations will be more. If you compare zeta equals to 0.1 and zeta equal to 0.5, so which one will give more oscillation, 0.1 or 0.5?
0.1.
0.1, right? So as you gradually increase your zeta 0.1, 0.2 up to 1, so then your oscillation will also gradually decrease. And oscillation increasing is that which is better, high oscillation or low oscillation? So obviously
Low
less
oscillation.
oscillation, because less oscillation means it can quickly settle to the steady state value, right? So from this, if you derive, so basically it is expressed that S square plus 2 zeta omega ns plus omega n square in that form. So here basically if you calculate the zeta value, it will come like this. The expression of zeta will look like this. And in this case, you can see by changing this Kp factor, or by changing this tau I factor, by changing this Kp and tau I value, you can change the value of zeta. Fine. So if you want to increase the zeta value, so increase means not beyond 1. Obviously, it will be under damped system, the value will be 0 to 1. But initially, if it would have been 0.1, then we will try to make it 0.3, 0.5 like this. Okay. So that easily we can do by adjusting this Kp and tau I value, which are the parameters of this controller. Okay. And if you look at the graphs, so then how it will look like. Suppose you see that in case of P control, in case of P control, you can see this is the P control where it could not reach the steady state value. There was always an error. Now, if you use only integral control, then the integral action will look like this one. So here you will get large oscillations, and after a couple of time, after a couple of oscillations, it will settle down. But if you add P plus I, then you can see in PI control the output which is going above this value A, that is called as the overshoot, right? So this is my required desired value. So with respect to this value, it is going up to it is going more with top of this desired value. So this particular value is called as the overshoot. So basically, in case of PI control, this overshoot value is decreasing, as well as the oscillation is also bit reducing, and it is trying to settle down earlier with respect to the only integral control. Okay, so that is the concept of this PI control, where what we can understand that using PI control, the steady state error can be brought down to 0, and at the same time the transient response can be also improved. So transient response improved means oscillations will be less, settling time will be faster, like this. Okay, so this is about PI control. Now in our PID, we have discussed about P, we have discussed about I, then we have discussed about the combination of P and I. Now we will see that what will be the effect of D control. So D correspond to what? Derivative control. Okay, so derivative control, what is its role? So till now what we understand, in case of P control, there is always a steady state error. But if I use integral, so then your steady state error is getting eliminated, but it is causing more oscillation, and this overshoot is also more. Overshoot means it is going very high, very far with respect to the desired value at the beginning. Gradually it is dying down. Now that requirement of derivative control is, if you use a derivative control or the combination of P and D, so then what you will get, your overshoot or oscillations will reduce. Okay, so you can see that if I use PD control, then what is happening, the overshoot is reducing, and also that oscillation will also reduce. So this is the individual contributions of P, I, and D. Okay, now we will combine this P, I, and D together, and then we will get the PID controller. Okay, so what we mean to say basically that just if we see that, if we try to see, so basically suppose this is your that response, the time, and this is your Y. Suppose this is your that desired input value A. Now what we have seen, if I have only this P controller, so then this type of response we are getting, where always there was an steady state error. Okay, so that is for P controller, right? Now if we use your integral control, so then what will happen? So because of this integral control, it is your response is something like this. So it is, so this here steady state error is 0, and this is corresponding to I. Now what is the problem in this I? In this I, your steady state error is 0, fine, but here this is called as the overshoot. So this is called as the this is the overshoot value, this portion. So that, and this is high, and oscillation is also more. So derivative is used to reduce the overshoot value as well as the oscillations also. So this red you can think of as the this effect of D. Okay, so this is their individual contributions. Okay, now if we combine them together, so then we can just add all the things. So this is the p component, this is the integral component, and this is the derivative component. If you add them together, so then p plus I plus d, that is the PID control. So in PID control, you will have the maximum benefits, right? And this transfer function already we have seen for the PID, that PID transfer function means this output divided by error. Okay, so that was the PID transfer function. Now, if you compare among these three controller, if you use simply P control, then what will happen? Only your one parameter in the controller was there, KP, right? And this, what do we mean by tune? So that we will see in the next slide. So that is only one parameter was there in my controller, KP. But the disadvantage was there was a steady state error or offset was there. Now, if we use PI, which is bit complicated because here we have two terms in the PI controller. One is KP, another is tau I. Okay, and its performance is better than P. Here the steady state error is completely eliminated, but here is one problem, that overshoot is present, and this is most popular controller, this PI. Now another combination is PID, where the D is also introduced, and because of the D, your overshoot is decreasing and the oscillation is decreasing. But the PID is complex because here you have three parameters in the controller, KP, tau I, tau D, and its performance is better than PI. No steady state error, offset is reduced, but derivative actions might be affected by noise. So that is one problem of this. So PID is the best from all aspects, but generally PI is used because PID means here that component requirement will be more and it will lead to more cost, as well as the overall system complexity will increase. So mostly the preferable thing is the PI controller. But if we are very much interested to reduce the overshoot or reduce the oscillation, then we have to go for the PID. Okay. Now, how can we implement a controller? So implement means what? This here I have to implement this block, and in that block, what are the parameters? Mainly three parameters. If I consider PID, KP, tau D, and tau I, and these are the controller inherent parameter. So controller inherent parameter means what? Who will design the controller? That designer will design the controller. So if I am the control engineer, I want to design a controller. So then I will design this controller, and what should be the value of KP, tau D, tau I that I have to choose. Okay, and there is different methods to choose those parameter values on which basis I will choose that. Okay, and this what you can understand, that these PID are three simple logic. So this one is the proportional, that means some gain logic. Then another is the mathematical integration logic. Another is the mathematical derivative logic. So if you want to design this PID controller, you can either design it in the hardware. So hardware means you might have heard the name of operational amplifier, which is very widely used in design of electronic circuits. So you can use the op-amp based circuit to realize this gain, integration, and derivative function to realize the PID controller. Or if you want to implement it digitally, that is also possible. The corresponding digital logic, you will write it in code form or algorithm form, and that code you can burn into your microcontroller, and that particular code will act as the PID logic. Okay, so this is the implementation point of view. Okay, so this slides we have yesterday, that last class we have given to you, but this we have now discussed in detail. So is it okay for everyone about this PID controller logic and aspects? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Oh. Then we will look at the issues of a PID controller. So there can be different issues, but one important issues we are discussing here. One is that you try to understand in the PID controller what is happening. This error is going as the input to the controller, and the controller is the PID controller. If we say so, what it will do? It is having three terms. One is the proportional term, which means that it will multiply the error by some factor KP. then it will integrate the error, then it will take the derivative of the error, and all the things will be summed up, and then finally the controller output you will get. Now, if you consider the integration action, so integration action means what? That what is the corresponding that integral action? What does it imply? So basically, it will be the error will be summed up with respect to the time, is not it? Now you can have positive error, negative error depending on the set point and your output, right? So when the error signal is large for a significant period of time, or if there is a sudden large change in the set point, then that will also cause the error large. Then what will happen? The integrator output will build up with time, and as a result, the controller output might exceed the saturation limit of the actuator. So what does it mean? The PID, if I implement it, suppose in analog circuits domain, so then what will happen? The integral value is gradually increasing like this. So that means the output of the controller will also increase like this. And obviously, it cannot increase up to infinite. So there is some saturation is there. So if I consider an op-amp based circuit, so the op-amp based circuit output cannot exceed the supply voltage, right? So if your error also increase gradually for a long duration, but output cannot, ideally it can increase infinite. So it will be saturated after certain instant. Okay, and saturation means generally the controller output goes to the what? Goes to the actuator, and then the actuator output goes to the process. Okay, so it may happen that the actuator might be having some limit as well, that it can take up to this amount of input. So some compatibility issues can be there, or also the saturation limit means that is the maximum value. Beyond that, it cannot go. So this particular problem is known as the integration wind up issues. Okay, so if we don't prevent this integration wind up issues, it may cause continuous oscillation if the process in the process, which is not desirable, and also it may error the this actuator, if it exceeds the saturation limit of the actuator, so then the actuator may not work properly. Okay, so you understood the issues, right? So that is the mainly the issues due to the integration action. Okay, now there are different logics or circuits which can take care of the integration wind up issues, and one logic, very simple logic we are explaining here, which is called as the anti wind up logic. What is that logic? What we will do, we will just check the output of the controller. So output of the controller, or basically that output of the controller or the input to the actuator, whatever you say. So if that saturates, that if it does not saturate, then this this what is this ki? Basically this ki means kp by tau I. Okay, so you know this kp by tau I is my integral action. So kp by tau I am writing in form of ki. Okay, so here is the ki. Ki means kp by tau I. Okay, so this ki, so what I will do, I will check the controller output and or the actuator input, and if it saturates, then I will eliminate this integration, or I will stop this integration action. Okay, and if it does not saturate, then I will not do anything, I will use it as it is. So what this is the logic. So if the that input to the actuator or output of controller, if it saturates, so then immediately I will make the integral action 0, because this logic I can easily write in my code also. In code form I can write that, or in the analog circuits also I can implement this logic. And if it saturates, if it saturates, we will make it 0, and if it does not saturate, then we will make keep as it is. So it will ki will remain as it is. Okay, so by using this simple logic, we can try to avoid this integration wind up issues. Okay, so this is the basics about my PID controller, its operation, what is the relative advantage disadvantage of P, I, and D, and how to that what is the issue in controller, that how can we implement the controller either using some analog circuits or some digital implementation, and what is the issues of the PID controller, that also we discussed, and how to that rectify that issues, that is discussed as well. Okay, is it okay? Yeah. So next, this slide is about your this controller tuning. Okay, so controller tuning means what? I have a controller, and in this PID controller, how many parameters you have? Kp, tau I, and tau d. Okay, these three parameters. Now, how to choose those three parameters? So here, what we do? So here, just what we will do here. Yeah. So there are different type of controller tuning methods. So one method is known as the Ziegler-Nichols method. So based on the this researchers Ziegler and Nichols, based on their name, this method name has come up. Now, please remember that this method is not the universal. So this is not the only method. You have lot of other methods. So the just one method, for examples, we are discussing. And this tuning of Kp, tau I, tau d, they are also not universal. So there requires couple of trial and hit and trial, that type of calculation as well. Okay, to arrive at the specific value. So just for the example, we are discussing the Ziegler-Nichols method. So what it is? It is that suppose initially what we do, we use the controller in P mode. So what it means? Initially we assume tau d equals to 0 and tau I equals to infinite. So that means what? That the derivative portion is 0, and because derivative portion means tau d into d dt, and integration was 1 by tau I into integration e dt. So 1 by tau I is infinite. So both the derivative and integral action, we make it 0. We use only P mode. Then what we will do? The proportional gain Kp is increased gradually, and we will increase like this. Then I will get a critical value of Kp, for which the system will, that system means the, suppose I have used a process, some first order process, then I have used the controller, and in the controller only P mode I am using, and in the P mode I am gradually increasing my Kp value. So as the Kp will increase, for a particular Kp value, I will get the system to start oscillating with constant amplitude continuously. And the output waveform looks like this type of oscillation. And in this oscillation, there I will get the, this oscillation means some particular frequency oscillations will be there. Okay. Now, the time period of this oscillation Tu is noted down, and the Kp value for which the oscillation is starting, that Kp max value is also noted down. Okay. Then what we do? We note down this Kp max and Tu, and then if we use only P control, so then the Kp we choose as 0.5 Kp max. If we use Pi control, then Kp value is chosen as 0.45 into Kp max, and tau I value is chosen as this Tu by 1.2. And if I use PID, so then Kp is chosen as 0.6 Kp max, tau I is chosen as Tu by 2, and tau d is chosen as Tu by 8. So this is just as I repeat. So this method is called as the Ziegler-Nichols tuning method, and this is just one example method. And here the Kp max and Tu, these two are found out either simulation wise or experimentally, and then from this Kp max and Tu value, the other parameters like tau I, tau d, Kp, those things are chosen. And after choosing this value, then we have to, so these are the base values. After that, you need little bit, so exactly at 0.6 you may not get the correct value, so little bit variations you might need to do, but these are the basic values where from we will start, or where from we will start to choose. Okay, so this is about the controller tuning method. Is it okay? Okay, if it is fine, so then we will move to the next one, which is known as the digital implementation. Because ultimately, so far we talked about that ultimately what we told in the beginning also, that in order to design a controller or design an embedded control systems, that is our final objective. And to go to that particular objective, we have to understand about a physical process, how to model it in using mathematical modeling. So those things we have to understand its characteristics, dynamics. So those things we have to understand, right? So in that aspect, we have discussed so far about these type of concepts. Next, what we told that the controller logic, what is the controller logic we can use, and what is the objective of the controller to reduce the steady state error, to make the system response faster, to improve the performance, and so on. And now, as I told that PID and controller, that is one example popularly used controller scheme, and which can be implemented both in some analog circuits or the digital platform as well. So if I want to implement the PID controller logic in digital platform, then what you have to do in PID, what you have, one gain, that proportional gain is there, another integration action, another derivative action. Okay. So here in the, if we want to convert that analog integration and derivative into digital, then what you have to do, you have to simply, a straightforward way will be to replace the integral and derivative terms by their finite difference approximation. So what is meant by that? So integration of e dt, what does it mean? Basically, so in case of digital, what we will do, if I want to convert an analog signal to digital signal, then what I have to do? I have to discretize it. Okay. So discretize it means what? I have to that sample it, you can say, right? So that means suppose if you have suppose some sinusoidal signal, something like this. This is your analog signal. If you want to convert it into digital, so then what you will do? You will just discretize it, right? So in that way, you will discretize it. So discretize it means then what you will take only this value. So suppose this, these are the discretized things, right? So this is the discretization, and at certain time interval we are doing the discretizations, right? So there is one time interval. So that is your del t. So that we call as the sampling time, is not it? So you might study about this normal analog logic, digital logic in class 2 as well, right? So this discretizations, so discretizations, integration of discretization means what? I am that discretizing the error with the certain that and with the time interval delta t, and each time suppose at 0 we are telling e1, at delta t e2, at 2 delta t e3, likewise dot 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 this, right? So simply this et dt, the corresponding discretizations will be ej into delta t, where j equals to 1 to k for k samplers, k number of samples. Similarly, if I want to write the derivative form dE dt, so then what I will see that at kth instant the value is ek, and then just the before k, at k minus 1 instant, if the value is ek minus 1, the error, so then the difference of ek minus 1 divided by delta t, right? So that is the discretization forms of the derivative, and this is the integration. And delta t is the sampling period, the time between successive measurements of the variable. Ek is error at kth sampling instant for k equals to 1 to dot 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 like this. Now this simply in the PI. So in our that PID control, if I consider that PID output is PT, then I can write as, so here just Kc is written. So earlier we have written Kp. So Kc into Et plus 1 by tau I integration Et dt plus, this is the analog form, this is the representation. If I want to write it into digital platform, what I am doing? This Et I am writing as Ek, and this here 1 by tau I is there, and this integration 0 to t Et dt, that I am simply writing in summation form, this replacing this value over here, and the derivative dE dt we can write it in this form. Fine. So then it will give you the discretization form, and this is the discrete PID logic, is not it? So this is the analog logic, and this is the corresponding digital PID logic, and this logic you can easily implement it into your microcontroller in digital platform. So where Pk is the controller output at kth sampling instant, this equation is referred to as the position form of the PI control algorithm, because the actual value of the control output is calculated. So this particular form is known as the position form, and there is another form where the that derivative or the difference of error is taken, that is called velocity form. So here, just for representative purpose, we are discussing about this position form of PID control, which is the digital implementations of the analog PID logic. Okay, is it okay? So this is all about our PID controller. So we have discussed in detail about the effect of P, I, and D individually, their mathematical calculation as well as their physical interpretation. Then we have talked about how to that implement the PID in analog circuits as well as in digital platform, how to tune them, right? So those aspects we have talked about in details. So is it okay for all? Okay. So if it is okay, so then we will move to our next topic. So this is the basics about the that conventional control systems, including their controller implementation aspects. So then we will move forward to the just another basic important aspects, which is very much required in the modern control theory point of view, and also these concepts will be useful for you for the further modules as well, where you will learn about the that how to that software coding the things from the controller implementation point of view, as well as their software development and their issues. Okay, so in that context we are just trying to give some that overview of the modern control theory. So what does it mean? So please try to understand, and if you face any difficulties, please let me know, so that it will be clarified immediately, because don't stack your doubts within your mind, okay, or the brain. Yeah. So so far what we have seen, while we have discussed about the mathematical modeling of the control system or the process, so we told that why the mathematical modeling is required, and how so we have introduced the concept of transfer functions. We have talked about the linear time invariant system, right, and also derived their transfer function errors. So those aspects, right? Now the modern trend is the engineering system is towards more accurate modeling of the practical systems, which will have larger complexity. Larger complexity in one sense, typically the system what we have discussed so far, it includes one input, one output. So that is called as the single input, single output system. But you can have some systems which are having multiple input, multiple output. Okay, so for those multiple input, multiple output system, and even the so far whatever we have discussed, we have told that mainly those transfer function concepts, those are applicable for linear time invariant system, right? But practically, so they are more precisely applicable for linear time invariant single input, single output system, the conventional control theory what we have discussed so far. But practically there can be that multiple input, multiple output systems, as well as the systems can be non-linear, and also the system can be time varying. So if we have those type of practical systems, so then the conventional control theory may not be a good choice. So in that case, we have to go for the modern control theory, which is applicable to multiple input, multiple output system, which can be linear, non-linear, time variant, invariant, anything. Fine. And suppose you remember about our tank level system, right? So we told in the tank level system modeling that our inlet flow rate was the input and output was the H, that is the height or level of the tank, right? And also at that time, if you remember, I told you can consider the outlet flow rate as well as an output variable. So if you consider that, then that tank systems can be thought of as single input, two output system, where inlet was the one input and output was this level as well as the flow rate. So that is one example of one input, two output. But similarly, you can have lot of other type of multiple input, multiple output in different practical systems as well. Fine. Now, what is the basic of this modern control theory approach? It is based on the concept of state, which we are going to discuss. The concept of state, and which is called as the state space equations or state variables or state space representation. So that type of concept is there, which is widely used for modern control theory approach, which can be used, which is that which is basically more general approach, and which can be used for any type of system, even multiple input, multiple output, linear, non-linear, time variant, invariant, everything. And but it is not like that it cannot be used for LTI CISO system. It can be used for linear time invariant, single input single output system as well. Okay, but its approach or that area is more wide. Okay, now we will try to understand what is this state space representation. So basically, a dynamic system consisting of a finite number of lumped elements may be described by ordinary differential equation in which time is the independent variable. Okay, so what we have seen earlier, that we have different type of system like first order, second order. Mainly first order, second order we have analyzed with detail, but second there can be larger order as well. So and there the equation, the differential equations order will also, it can increase from order 1 2 3 up to dot 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 n. Okay, now the dynamic system consisting of a finite number of lumped elements can be described by ordinary differential equation. So lumped elements means, for example, we have talked about the mass spring damper system, you remember, where mx double dot plus bx dot plus kx equals to input force we told, right? So that is one lumped model system, one mass, one spring, one damper. Now you can suppose when you will try to design, suppose you want to model some bridge is there, and that bridge model you want to do, right? So then what you can think of, one approach can be, you can think the bridge as n number of mass spring damper system. So then n number of mass spring equations will come into the picture for its analysis. Okay, so for that type of cases the complexity will increase. So to deal with those type of analysis, we can go for this state space representation, which we are going to discuss. Now another concept what we are calling, by use of vector matrix notation, an nth order differential equation may be expressed by a first order vector matrix differential equation. Okay, so that means if I have a nth order differential equation, so that I can write in terms of n number of first order equations. So that is using this vector matrix notation. Okay, so that in the next slide, with the help of the examples, we will illustrate. So here just the text I have written here. Then if I have n elements of the vector are a set of state variables, then the vector matrix differential equations is a state equation, and we have to obtain the state space representation of a continuous time system. And what is this state space? The n dimensional space whose coordinate axis consists of the x1 x2 dot 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 xn axis, where x1 x2 dot 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 xn are state variables, that is called a state space, and any state can be represented by a point in the state space. So these are just the, I understand that these last couple of 3-4 lines you may not understand clearly. Just in the next slides I will explain this with the help of the that examples or equations, so then it will be more clear. But what I want to emphasize, that the modern control theory, which is more general and which is applicability is more, so and in that modern control theory, this state space concept is very important. And using this state space concepts, what I can do, I can convert the one nth order differential equation into n number of first order differential equations, and which will be easier to analyze or calculate or carry forward the analysis subsequent. Okay, Somnath sir has joined, I think.
Yeah. So actually, I have sent you. Hello.
Huh?
Somebody is speaking. Hello. Yeah. So I'll request you to check your activity list. Can you share any of your students? Can you share the screen so that I'll come to know. I've sent you some mock tests, because tomorrow we'll be having a mock test between 5:10 p.m. to 5:40 p.m. So any of you, or maybe Shrey Verma, can you just share your screen to show us whether you have received any request for a test or not? I think
Yes, sir, I received the request.
Now, can you just share your screen? We can see.
Sir, I am attending right now.
No, you're attendee right now. So can you not share your screen right now?
No, so other maybe Rudrajyoti or William.
Yeah, William, can you just check whether you have? I just wanted to see whether you have.
All right, sir. Give me a moment. I'll just open.
Okay, I will just unshare.
Yeah, sir, the link is visible.
Yeah, visible. No. Can you just share it?
Yeah, I'll try.
That,
Yeah, here
So-
it is showing.
no, tomorrow
where
you
is
have
it?
a final test. So, sir actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. So
today,
can you just
today
do
link
it?
is the mock test. Tomorrow is the
Mm.
final.
Yeah, today is the final test. This is just to
Don't
test
get-
whether, yeah, just do something. Just I wanted to see some, just random points, just to for you. Just you can fill up something and you can just. Okay, you can see the results also. Is it? See, I was checking for that. What is the maximum processor speed? Okay.
Hello. হ্যাঁ ক্লাস চলছে একটু পরে একটু পরে
Yeah. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll just check here. One minute. So what is your name again?
My name is Rudrojyoti Roy.
So it says wrong because maybe the gap is there. Some gap is it's not able to understand some gap or something like that.
No, the Z is in small letters. I think that's the reason.
Yeah, maybe that may be the reason. 1 minute. So Rudrajyoti Roy, is it? Rudrajyoti Roy. Turned in. Okay. Just wanted to see. Okay. Yeah, capital. Yes, you're right. Capital Z. So that is a lesson. So this is a good lesson, saying that this is case sensitive and all. Okay. And so what I suggest is you try. Yeah.
So I wrote like 16 then space and the same as capital M, capital H and small z. It is showing correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is accepting it, but it requires space.
Case sensitive. Okay, good. So
No, white space.
No, it's white space it requires.
It expects white space. Okay, fine. So it is still 6 o'clock. So I suggest you fine. It is done, right? Can you just log out and try to log in after 2 minutes? Okay. Log out means not from the Teams, but so we'll just check after it is 6 p.m. We'll check whether you are able to do it or not. Okay, so again, announcement to all of you. There is going to be a class test or quiz, whatever we call it, from 5:10 p.m. That is 10 minutes past 5 to 40 minutes past 5 tomorrow, Friday, right? And then followed by there will be some class, okay, for 20 minutes class or 25 minutes or so, okay. And then on Saturday there will be another class test or quiz, which will be conducted by Professor Banibrata Mukherjee, right? And then there will be class followed. He will be giving some class after that, and after that I'll be also giving some class. So tomorrow's slot, day after tomorrow's slot is on Saturday, right? From 8 to 10. So we'll be taking our lectures, and after that, from next week onwards, Professor Arnav Sarkar or Professor Ayantika Chatterjee, they will be taking the class. Okay. So having said that, I think we have 1 more minute to go.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I have one request regarding tomorrow's test. Actually, sir, I started reading this book the last weekend. So actually, I have given sufficient amount of time, around 5 hours or so. But the thing is, like the prerequisites required to read the book are a lot. So can you please reduce the syllabus by a couple of chapters? Like if you could take up to AVR architecture and assembly language programming, the third chapter of the
No,
book.
that's too less. That will be too less actually. So I'd asked, but why didn't you read it? You could have asked questions in the class, right? That was the whole purpose of that.
Sir, the problem was my CDC tests were going on and other.
No, for one
classes-
person, then you should have said. So the CDC test, then that cannot. I don't think that's a valid excuse. So
but
please-
sir,
No, sorry.
I asked in our group, so there were many students who were also facing.
See, then why don't you? None of them ask questions then? This is not acceptable. Chapter 3 is very less. See, all these chapters are very essential. Okay, so so the class test, maybe for as for assignments, maybe I'll give till chapter 10, but for assignment for class test, chapter 3 is very less, because that is not at all acceptable. Please, I cannot accept this thing. So many weeks have passed. So why didn't you ask? Have you asked a single doubt?
Sir,
I'm asking you a question. Have you asked a single doubt?
No, sir.
No, you did not study. You did not bother to study at all. So now you have started studying. That is, please, I don't accept this. Please, this should not be encouraged.
Also,
No.
sir, one
No,
more thing.
sorry. No, this is absurd. This should not be encouraged. This should not be allowed. Okay.
So
you
sir,
should have studied. You should have studied. You should have asked questions also. So why are you, after so many weeks, why are you asking now then? You could have told earlier, right? Have you spoken a single time? Have you told about this?
Yes, sir. I
Just talk
told
out. When?
once back also, like I am not able to cope up with the number of chapters. I told you regarding that once in the class.
Once in the class, really? I don't remember that. But cope up in the sense, see, then you could have asked. Have you asked any relevant doubts? What you are not able to understand? Have you asked any questions?
Sir, actually, I am able to Google and watch YouTube videos of the like anything which I am not understand. So basically, I have to spend a lot of time. That's what I am saying. Like I don't have any problem in studying all the chapters.
No. Chapter 3 is very well less. Sorry.
So sir,
No. Chapter 3 is very well less. I think still time is there. Time is still there till tomorrow 5 o'clock. So 5:10. So it will be till chapter 7. Okay. Class test will be till chapter 7. So I have been asking you several times about doubts and all. You didn't bother to read any of the chapters so that you could have asked questions, right? So now at the last end, just the moment I am asking you about test, you're talking about this. Sorry, this is not acceptable. Anyway, so can you just log into this? We'll see whether you're able to see, log in or not. Can you share your screen?
Sir, in the previous class you told up to chapter 5.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
it was up to
This-
chapter 5.
Chapter
5.
5.
Now you are telling chapter 7.
Chapter 5.
You told in the last class.
We have been told that it was up to chapter 5.
0 to
We are preparing.
Yeah.
I mean, like that.
Yeah, but I have been trying to cover till chapter 7, right?
Sir, but how? I mean, at the last moment you
Not
changing.
last moment, one more. See, it's one more, right? One more day is there, but anyway.
But we have no preparation. I mean, we are just preparing like we have till chapter 5. You told in the last class.
So one
You
minute.
just-
One minute. That when, but you are asking about this? But have I not told you that you study till chapter 10? Have you not? Have I not told you about that for the classes?
For doubt and for test.
These are different.
Two things, sir.
See, all these are very essential. So all these chapters are very important. You're thinking that just to get marks and all, you're trying to reduce the chapters. But okay, fine. Till chapter 5. But then be ready with till chapter 5. Okay. Then we'll have another test for covering the rest of the chapters. Okay. Later on. Right. So because those are again very important chapters for programming and all. So just by quickly reading something and getting some marks, I mean just to negotiate, and it's not a good idea. But again, anyway, so we'll have test for the rest of the chapters. Okay, fine. So anybody else has any other question? Yeah. So as
Sir,
I
how
asked you,
is the question pattern?
so it will be mostly multiple choice questions and short answer type questions. That's like the one that you have seen in the mock test, but a little bit more. It is very simple, so which is much more. Okay. So can you just share your screen to see whether you are able to do the test or not? It's because the time limit was 6 p.m. So can you just share your screen and we can see?
Sir, I have already submitted it. So
No, I'm asking anybody else. Okay, you, somebody else maybe. Anybody else? Share the screen. Okay, fine. Okay, good then. So, fine. Okay, so tomorrow at 5:10 there will be a class test from till chapter 5, and then later on we'll be having another set of class tests. So as I said, it will be not just the chapter 5 from chapter 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the slides as well. Okay, the slides are also included. Okay, the 2 slides or whatever, 3 or whatever slides were from my portion, they are also included. Okay. Yeah, how many questions? I don't want to speak about that. It will be a span of 30 minutes, which will help. Hopefully, it will be sufficient for you to answer. Okay. Okay. So, anybody else has any other question? What are these questions? How many questions? Okay, you said chapter. Fine. Chapter 5 is okay. So tomorrow we have a mock test or a final one. Okay, that's an interesting question. So today was the mock test, just to see whether you're able to receive the request for class test or not, the link for class test. So tomorrow, and just to get you, aware of where to look for the class test, right? So all of you don't have any problems to, all of you don't have problems to access the class test link, right? You'll be looking for that, right? Tomorrow at 5:10 p.m. For starters, better give the units in the question itself, sir, so that megahertz problem does not happen. Yeah, fine. So that I'll see if I'll see myself. So that was the in fact that was the test actually, to see how it responds. Okay. Yeah. Next. Any other questions?
Sir, I had one doubt regarding tomorrow's test.
Mm-hmm.
So, sir, have you enabled the auto submit option in Microsoft Teams? Because I had given 2 other tests on Microsoft Teams, and what
Okay.
happened was in
Mm-hmm.
one of the tests, like I was on the 4th question,
Mm-hmm.
and we were expecting auto submit. So there were 5 questions in total. So I did the 4th question, I went to 5th question, and I thought that even if I run out of time, it will take my submissions of the previous question. But what happens by default on Microsoft Teams is the form closes. Let's say at 11:57, I started doing the 5th question, and the due time is 12.
Mm-hmm.
So at 12, the form closes, and then I'm not able to submit any of my answers.
Oh, any of your answers? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So,
Then I had to
oh.
I had to mail my professor immediately just after 12 o'clock, because I realized that the form is not accepting any answer. So the form it's not a dynamic form.
Okay, so you're saying that we should, this is for auto submit, is it?
Yes, sir. I am not sure if that option exists in Microsoft Teams.
I'll check. Whatever is permissible, I'll try to do that. Okay.
Because
I'll try to help you.
like as compared to Moodle, in Moodle what happens, like if the deadline is over, the test automatically gets over, and whatever I have done gets recorded. In Team, that does not happen.
Okay, I'll check about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but your professor, how did could he recover your answers?
No, sir. Means the answers don't get fed only. Means they get lost completely. I sent him whatever, fortunately, it was a theoretical test. So he had told us to submit the rough work and the working through which we came to the answer. So that was also going to hold value in the test. So I got my marks based on that rough work.
Okay, I'll just try to see what are the options for that. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Any other point? Yeah, and then today in the span of from today to tomorrow morning or afternoon, I'll be giving you assignment also. Okay, so that will be till chapter 10, the assignment. So it will be the due date will be on the date. Yeah, so the due date will be on 5th. The assignment submission due date will be on 5th morning. Okay, 5th October morning. Okay, and on Saturday, if you have any doubts on these chapters, you can ask me these question after the class ends. After Professor Banibhata's class ends, you can ask me doubts till chapter 10. Okay. So due date of so two things. One is the assignments which I'll be start uploading, because there are many students. It will take some time to upload, and the due date is 5th of October morning, and the second is the class test tomorrow at 5:10 p.m. Okay.
So the assignment is practical or theoretical?
The assignments will be, the instructions will be given. So practical is it will be on, I don't know whether you call it practical or theoretical. It will be programming mostly. Okay, in the AVR in the Atmel Studio, you have to do the programming. You have to show the results, and you have to make a document out of it. Okay.
Sir, is it allowed to use Proteus instead of Atmel Studio?
Okay, fine, no problem.
Sir, will we do the assignment in groups?
Typically 2 to 3 people per assignment, I would say. Sir, will this SEM get completed by end of October, November? Yeah, actually it will be till I think 26th November is the last date, but I think it's 20th, right? Bhanuvata, I think the
20th.
20th, right? 20th, yeah. Friday is the last date, I think, of the class. So it is November 20. Okay, any other question?
Sir, just one thing, like, can you send a mail like all the test dates and the assignment dates that we need to like submit? Like, it will be good if we have a like a written record.
No, the moment the assignment, it will be written there itself, right? In the assignment itself, there will be the due date for that assignment. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
It will be written there. What is the due date? Okay. Any other question? Okay then. So I guess no other questions. Thank you. So best of luck for tomorrow's test, starting at 5:10 p.m. Okay. So you'll be yeah. So you'll be getting a link by that, and it'll get activated from 5:10 p.m. I guess should not be a problem. It has been tested also today, so you can. Yeah. Professor Mukherjee, do you would like to say something about your test or?
No, I will continue then. I will take few more times to complete my portions.
Okay, so will you be taking a test on Saturday or?
Yeah, that I told them.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine then. Yes. Bye.
Yeah. So my microphone is muted. You can see and hear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So just we started our this discussion on this modern control theory concepts. So what we told that basically that which is more general and which can be used for that any general systems of different types, right? So in that context, this state space representation is one that important concepts which is used widely to analyze this type of general systems, and that can be our normal single input, single output, time varying, time invariant, multiple input, multiple output, linear, non-linear, anything. Okay, and there basically the equation. So earlier what we told, the Laplace transform is used to convert the differential equation into algebraic form and then solve the thing. Okay. Now what we are saying, the concept of this state space. Suppose I have a nth order differential equation. So obviously as your differential equations order increases, so that the complexity will also increase, and some uncertainties. Uncertainties in the systems, in the physical systems. So as many number of equations, variables, order of the systems will increase. It will cause some issues as well in the overall analysis as well as the response point of view. So if somehow we can convert the nth order differential equation into n number of first order differential equation, so whatever be the order of n and whatever be the number of input, number of output of a system, if I can convert them in general this the first order equations form, and then if I write them in terms of some matrix form or vector form, so then it will look like this so more general, and which will only consist of the first order equation terms. So just let us explain with the examples, so then it will be more clear to you. So after explaining this example, if you have any doubts, so then please let me know. Okay. So please try to understand. Suppose I have an nth order differential equations. So where y, so basically this means you know that dn y by dtn, then a1 into dn minus 1 y by dtn minus 1, likewise dot 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 dy d2y dt2 dy dt, then y that equals to u, where u is your input and y is your output. Okay, so this is fine. So for a system we have, so here just for simplicity we have considered that single input single output system, and here input is u and output is y. Fine. Now we are, so to understand these state space concepts, we are just showing the derivations. So then I will tell that how it can be applicable in general to other different type of systems as well. Okay. Now suppose this nth order differential equation, I want to represent it using only first order equation. Then what I can do? So what I can do, suppose let us assume a variable x1 equals to y. Okay. Then x2 equals to y dot. Then dot 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 xn equals to y n minus 1. That means this is n minus 1th time derivative. Okay. That I am assuming some variables x1 equals to y, x2 equals to y dot 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 dot, dot xn equals to that y n minus 1 dot. Fine. Now can I write this in this form as well? That what is this your x1 dot? X1 dot equals to x2 I can write, because you see that x1 equals to y I have written, x2 equals to y dot, x3 equals to y double dot, x4 equals to y triple dot, likewise dot 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 this one. Then that I can write in this form, in first order equation form. x1 dot equals to what? X1 dot means this y dot, and y dot means x2. So x1 dot equals to, I can write x2. Similarly, x2 dot means what? X2 dot means you just tally this left side and this right side. X2 dot means what? Y double dot, is not it? And x3 equals to your this basically y double dot. So x3 equals to x2 dot. So that I can write in this form, x2 dot equals to x3. In this form, I can write x dot n minus x n minus 1 dot equals to xn. In that form, I can write it. Okay. Then the last one will be what? Xn dot. What will be the xn dot? That will be the xn dot. That is your the final a, that final term. So that will, you can write in this form, minus an x1 minus this an minus 1 x2 dot 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 minus an xn plus u. Why? Because what will be your that xn dot? So here xn minus 1 dot equals to xn. Fine. And this xn is your yn minus 1. You see here, xn means what? Xn means yn minus 1. But here I have yn. So yn is nothing but xn dot, is not it? So xn dot means that this one. This one is xn dot. So this xn dot, how I can write? Only I am in this main equations, this yn I am writing in the left side, and all other terms, if I shift it to the right side, then what you will get? Yn equals to minus a1 1 minus yn minus 1, right? So plus minus all minus terms will be there, minus a and y, like this. Fine. So basically this you see from here, minus a and y means what? Y means x1. So this is the first term. This a and y, that correspond to this first term, minus a and x1, minus a n minus 1 x2 dot 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 a1 xn, and here already in the right hand side u was there, so this will be the u. Okay, so this particular thing, this xn dot equals to, in this form what we have written, I can write this or represent it in some vector form, or then how it look like? X dot equals to ax plus bu, where x dot means what? X dot means, you can look at this right side what we have written. This right side what we have written, that particular thing, you can, what you can see, this is nothing but n number of first order differential equations. Can I say that? Here, if you look at this one, where these are not first order equations, but these things what I have represented, they are nothing but n number of first order ordinary differential equation, right? Now this particular thing I can represent it in this form, where x dot means what? X dot is the vector that which includes x dot means x1 dot x2 dot column vector. Okay, then a into x means what? X means again another column vector which includes x1 x2 x3 like this, and a will be one matrix. Fine. And then plus b into u, where e is your this input quantity, and b will be the again another vector. Fine. So these particular equations, this is one nth order differential equations with simple this type of algebraic manipulations. I can express them in n number of ordinary first order differential equation form, which can be in general written as in this form, x dot equals to ax plus bu, which is called as the state equation, where this x1 x2 x3 dot 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 xn, they are called as the state variables. U is, so state variables is basically this x is the state vector, and under this x, this x1 x2 dot 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 xn, they are called as the state variables. This input is u, and a and b, a is the this matrix which is multiplied with this state variable, and b is also one type of vector which is again multiplied with the u. Fine. So in this form I can represent, and for this particular example, the a I can simply write as 0 1 0 dot, so this one will be 1, all other terms 0. Similarly in this row, this will be 1, all other 0, because a into x, this x vector will be multiplied. Fine. So if you multiply a into x, so what will be your first term? First term in x dot will be x1 dot. So x1 dot equals to x2. So that you can simply write it, because only this term is 1. So this 1 will be multiplied with x2, and x1 dot equals to x2. That you can write. Fine. Similarly, this u in all in these equations, only in the last equation the term u is present. In other equations the u is not present. So this vector b, if you look into, only the last term will be u1, all other terms are 0. Fine. And that will be multiplied with the u. So we represent this n order differential equation into n number of first order differential equations, and that we represent it in this form, x dot equals to ax plus bu. Okay. And what will be my output? My output is y. So y is nothing but what? Here we have seen y equals to your x1, is not it? So y equals to x1, that also you can write in this form, y equals to c into x. That is the general form, where since in this example only y equals to x1, so that's why in this row vector only first term is 1, all other term are 0, and x means this column vector x1 x2 dot 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 xn. So y equals to 1 into x1, y equals to 1 into x1, that we are getting from here. So this is called as the state space representation, where this n order differential equations we are trying to write it using n number of first order differential equation form and with the help of that matrix and vector form. And here we have basically two equations. One is called as the state equation, x dot equals to ax plus bu. Another equation is called as the output equation, which is known as the y equals to c into x for this particular example. Okay. And finally, we have to find out the output by input. So y is the output, u is the input, then ys by us, that will be in this transfer function form, and that I have to write. Okay. Is it okay, or any doubts in understanding? Please let me know. So otherwise, in the subsequent slides, you will face difficulties if you don't understand this. Please let me know.
Sir, please can you just last line explain the last line y by u again?
Yeah. So y by u, because that is my ultimately I want to find out what transfer function of the system. Y is the output, u is the input. So ys by us I have to find out. Now ys by us, if you simply in these equations, if you simply take the Laplace transform and just take the ratio, then what you will get? Output by input. In the input you have only one is there. So 1 by, in this sides, s to the power n plus s to the power n minus 1 dot 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 like this. Okay. Now these transfer functions, now please try to understand that here these nth order differential equations, if I directly apply my Laplace transform, I can write them and I can derive this ys by us in this form. But this is, since this is a simple equation, simple system, so that's why we can directly do that. And this Laplace transform concept is only applicable for this linear time invariant system primarily, right? But if the systems are having some other properties, nonlinear, time variant, or multiple input, multiple output, then this straightforward thing we could not write. So that's why we are introducing this state space representation form, and later on we will see that using this state space, these vectors and this matrix, we can derive the corresponding transfer function as well, which will match with this transfer function. But this transfer function is not derived from this. This is just from this one directly we have written this transfer function. So later on we will see that using this state space representation concept also, we can convert them into the transfer function form. Okay. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Anyone else? Please make that clear your doubts at this particular point, because in the next slide onwards, if you don't understand these concepts, then next slide onwards it will be difficult for you. So please.
So can you explain the output equation? How it y is equal to?
Yeah. So okay, just one by one I am going. This line, anyone is having any doubt in this line writing, assuming x1 equals to y, x2 equals to y dot, like xn equals to y n minus 1? Is it fine for all? Yeah. What about this right side, these equations? Is it okay for all? This x1 dot equals to x2 in this representation, all are comfortable with this one? Okay. So you are not responding means I can assume you have understood. Okay. Then this particular set of equations, I want to write it, because otherwise you have to write n number of equations. Instead of that, what will be the simplest representation form? You can simply write it in the matrix form, right? So where what I can write, this x1 dot, x2 dot, x3 dot like this, that you can write as the x dot. So here x is called as the state variable, and under x, this is one column vector where x means x1, x2 dot 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 xn. Fine. So what will be x dot? X dot will be also a state vector. Basically, x dot will be also a vector, which will be also a column type vector, and where what will be the variables? X dot means x1 dot, x2 dot 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 xn dot. Fine. So these left. So here, if you write this one as equation 1, this one as equation 2, likewise dot 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 dot, this one as equation n. So this I can write, the left side I can write in x dot form, where x dot equals to x1 dot, x2 dot 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 xn dot. Fine. Then I can write a into x, where x means what? X means again this x1, x2 dot 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 xn. So and a, how I can find out? A I have to find out from this n number of equations, right? where you can easily understand that up to this second last line, only x1 x dot equals to ax in that form it is present, because only one left side one variable, right side one variable. So that's why in this A matrix, that from this line, that equation 1 to equation n minus 1, all will be having only one term is 1, other term will be 0. Fine. And in the last term, xn dot is nothing but yn. So basically yn I am writing. So how we have got this xn dot, that I can simply, I am getting from this particular equation, where I am writing yn equals to minus, just left side I am keeping this yn, all other terms I am sending to the right side, and there just I am replacing this y dot with x2 or in that form, and based on that I am getting the last equation, where this u will be plus u. Okay, so that's why in this A matrix, the last term will be, last row will be there will be having some different coefficients, like a minus an minus 1 dot 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 minus a1. Okay, then another term is there, b into u, where eu is my input vector, where in this case I have only one input, so that's why the u will be that the vector b, that will be simply all the elements will be 0, only last one will be 1. Okay, because that will be multiplied with u, and only the last equations contains this term u. Okay, so that's why in general the state equations I can write in this form: x dot equals to ax plus bu, which is nothing but the assembly of this n number of first order ordinary differential equations, which we have got from this nth order differential equation. Okay, and x1 x2 dot 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 xn, we are calling them as state variables, u is the input. Then finally I have, so I, in this state space representations I have mainly two equations. One is the state equation, but in the state equations we don't have the direct output expression, because y is my output. So that's why another equation is used, which is called as the output equation, which I can write as y equals to cx. Where from I am writing this y equals to cx? I am writing from this one, where x1 equals to y. Yeah,
am I audible?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so in the A matrix, so in the equation xn dot is equal to minus a and x1 and the entire equation. So the coefficients of each term is only an and all those terms, no? So in the A matrix, why the ones are there? Like only the A.
Ones are there
means only the an minus 1, an minus 2, these coefficients should be there at the proper places. No? So 0, 1, 0, 0, the ones are not needed.
No. Let me. So suppose what I have written, x1 dot equals to x2, x2 dot equals to x3, likewise x n minus 1 dot equals to your xn. So these are the equation, and last equation is xn dot. Last equation is your xn dot, that is equals to this minus an x minus 1
yes,
minus.
That I understood.
You understood?
Yes,
minus
sir.
an minus 1 x2 dot 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 dot, like this. So this I am writing, expressing in this vector form. So if I write them, this x1 dot x2 dot 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 xn dot, so that will be equals to your this a into x1 x2 dot 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 xn. So here this x1 dot equals to x2. So how I can write that? X1 dot equals to x2. This one will be 0, 1, all other term will be 0. Then next one is x2 dot equals to x3. So 0, 0, 1, all other 0. Did you get it?
Okay, yes, sir. Sorry. Yeah, I understood.
Yeah. So in that way we are getting this. Now, yeah. So in that way we have formed this matrix A, and this B will be simple vector for this particular case, and this output equation means y equals to from this very first assumption y equals to x1. So x1 is nothing but the output. Your output is nothing but the state variable x1, right? So that's why y equals to c into x. So for this case, since y equals to x1, so that's why this will be a row vector with only the first term is 1, all other term is 0, and this is the x1 dot dot xn like this. So that I can write it this y equals to cx form, where c is this row vector. Is it okay? Yeah. So if it is fine, so then we will just look one example of this mass spring damper system, and then we will stop. Okay. So just in the last slides, what we have seen that I can convert the nth order differential equation into n number of first order ordinary differential equation. So in the mass spring damper system, already we have discussed earlier. Mass spring damper system is, what is the order of the system? Second order, right? So second order differential equation was there, where the equation looks like this one, where if I consider u is my input and y is my output. Okay. So my double dot plus by dot plus ky equals to u. That is the equations what we have already earlier discussed. Fine. Now this is a second order differential equation. So if I want to represent it in state space form, what will be my order? So how many first order equations will be required? 2 first order equations will be required, right? So 2 first order equations will be required means you need 2 state variables. So basically in this examples, you need only x1 and x2, and what will be the order of the matrix? That will be 2 cross 2, because this matrix was n cross n. So for second order, it will be 2 cross 2 matrix. Okay. B will be your only this 2 element will be there, and likewise. But fine. So for this example, so here again the same things we are considering. Our output is y. So we are, what is the first variable we are considering? x1t. So x1 equals to y. So x2 equals to y dot. Okay. So these are the 2 state variables. Okay. Then what I can write? x1 dot equals to x2 I can easily write from here, exactly following the same logic what we have written in the last slide. So that's why I told please try to understand the last slide, so that it will be easier to understand this practical concept. So x1 dot equals to x2, and x2 dot equals to what? x2 dot equals to, you can get from this particular equation, right? So x2 dot means what? x2 dot means your this my double dot term. So my double dot will be what you will get, my double dot. So my double dot, what you have? So my, suppose for this a you have this my double dot plus by dot plus k. So that was equal to your u. Fine. So from here you can, what you can write? Y double dot equal to what you can write? That minus k by m minus, so here you have this y was there, minus k by m into y minus b by m into y dot plus u. Can you write this? So this is nothing but your x2 dot. So x2 dot equals to minus k by m. So what? Minus k by m, and your, what was your x1? So here, as you can see, suppose x2 dot equals to, I can write minus k by m y minus b by m y dot plus 1 by m u. Okay. So this is nothing but y equals to, I have assumed x1, and this y dot equals to, I have assumed x2. Is not it? So this and here you will be having this u by m as well. So x2 dot equals to, you can write minus k by m, x y means x1 minus b by m. What about y dot means what? Y dot means x2 plus u by m. So that will be your equation 2. Okay. And x1 dot equals to x2, that will be your equation 1. Fine. Now this equation 1 and 2, this you can write in this form, that x dot equals to ax plus bu. Fine. Where this Ax will be, so A how we will get, the A will be a 2 cross 2 vector, is not it? So in the 2 cross 2 vector, in the first row 1 and 0 will be there, and in the second row minus k by m and minus b by m will be there. And in the u vector, in the u, the input vector what we have, with that b will be multiplied, b will be simply 1 by m and 0. So please try to understand. So if you face any difficulties, please let me know. So x1 dot equals to x2 and x2 dot equals to, as I told, 1 by m minus ky minus by dot plus 1 by m u. That I can simply write as minus k by m, y I can write as x1, and y dot I can write as x2 plus 1 by m u. So this will be your state equation. This is one equation, x1 dot equals to x2 and x2 dot equals to this one. These two equations you can write in this x dot equals to ax plus bu form, which is the state equation. And what will be its output equation? Y equals to cx, in the last example what we have seen. And that means y equals to x1. That is the output equation. Fine. Now we are writing it in this matrix or this vector matrix form. So I can write that those state equation x1 dot x2 dot equals to a into x plus b into u, where this I already told in the board work, right? So this x1 dot equals to simply matrix vector multiplication. So this 0 into x1 plus 1 into x2. So x1 dot equals to x2 plus 0. So x1 dot equals to x2. That was the this x1 dot equals to x2. That is the equation 1. And equation 2 will be represented by x2 dot. Okay. So x2 dot equals to, for that the coefficients will be minus k by m minus b by m, x1 x2, and here you will be having 1 by m. Okay. And this will be your output equation, y equals to c into x, where c is one simple row vector 1 0 x1 x2. Now this you can write. So this is the general form. So basically x dot equals to ax plus bu, and y equals to, in the previous example we have seen cx, but sometimes in the y the du term can be also there if some other type of equations are there. Okay. Now for this specific example, what is the matrix A? This one is the matrix A, this one is the vector B, this one is the vector C, and here we don't have any du term, so d will be 0. Okay. So that is the equation form. Now this particular thing you can write it in this block diagram representation, where u is the input and y is the output. Now that if you want to represent it in block diagram form, then what you will get, you can simply from these equations you can write that u by m, and here you will be having this x1 dot and x2 dot, those things you have to realize. So basically you need two integration block here. So please try to see that if I see this block diagram, so then what will be the block diagram? This is your x1 or y. So basically k by m into x1, and that will be subtracted. So minus k by m x1. So this correspond to the minus k by m x1. This correspond to the minus b by m x2. You see this line, minus k by m x1 minus b by m x2. These are represented from this one, and that plus 1 by m into u, that will be your x2 dot, this x2 dot. But ultimately you want x1. So x2 dot you are integrating once, you are getting x2, then x2 you are integrating another time, you will get x1. So in that way we can represent it in this block diagram form. And why we have written this block diagram, that we will show in the that Saturday's class. After that class test, I will show you that MATLAB example, that this type of block diagram representation is very much convenient for analyzing this type of system in MATLAB. So that also we will try to see. Okay. So is it okay for all that how a simple second order mass number systems we have converted it to state space representation? Is it okay? Someone is saying something? Hello?
Sir, how how the whole process will work? I mean, what is the order of the work?
Now, order of the work means you the basic concepts I told, that I have a nth order differential equations that I am converting into n number of first order differential equations using this vector matrix representation form, and this particular representation is
Sir,
called as the
sir, I
test
am
space
telling
representation.
about the diagram.
Okay, oh, this diagram.
Yes, sir. I mean, how the work will be done. I mean, what will be the order? There are very much loops and various
Yeah,
things.
yeah. So this particular block diagram, this is just the this block diagram form of these equations. So what we are trying to do, my input is u because that is my actual input, and output is y or x1. Now in between, how we can arrange the blocks to solve this particular circuit or equation. So basically, if you represent this in this block diagram form, then you can simply in the MATLAB, when we will see that simply you apply some step input, it will directly give you the that response. You don't need to do any calculation. You have to just put draw this diagram and put the values of this b, m, k like this. And here integration means, you know, in Laplace domain integration means 1 by s. Okay, so in that way we can simply arrive at. Now the order of the system means basically this ax x dot equals to ax plus bu, that thing itself we are presenting it in the block diagram form. And here we have since this is second order equation, so that's why we have two loops and two integration blocks. If I have third order equation, then I will be having three integration block and three loop. If I have n order system, so then n number of integration block and n number of this. If you say this one is one loop, this one is another loop, if you say in this form, so then you will get n number of integration block and n number of loops. Okay, so depending on your order of the system. Is it okay? Hello, does it answer your question? Hello? Hello?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So till now, so with this, we will stop today. So if you have any question, please let me know.
So what will be the syllabus for Saturday then?
So syllabus for Saturdays till this slides. So till this block diagram representation form. So till now, whatever we have discussed, so that will be the syllabus will be up to this.
Okay. Sir,
So then upload the slides by
Yeah,
tonight, sir,
definitely,
please.
definitely. So I will upload it. So yeah, so that is because and the year, in last year also those PID portions we have uploaded. So then this subsequent portions what we have discussed talk today, we will upload it today. So that is one thing. And second thing is that you so mainly you refer to all the slides, and if you can refer to some other books, some particular chapters as well, what I have mentioned in the reference. But at least that slides you must have to understand. And for further understanding or clarifications, you can let me know through email if you have any specific doubts, or you can refer to some specific chapters of the books what I have mentioned. So there obviously these the portions what I have talked about, that hardly some 3-4 chapters maximum, some few portions from there if you look at that. So okay, so that is the thing. And if you have any specific queries, please let me know. So otherwise we will stop. And also mostly it will be short answer type, but obviously the numericals or some solving things, if that which will be required, so for that you need to keep your pen and notebook with you. And after the this submitting the things, you have to upload that rough copy as well. So and both will be tallied to evaluate the final things, and the giving the final numbers or marks. Okay.
So the rough copy you have to mail, or where you have to upload?
So that I will see that in Teams that aside some other tabs, I will just let you know. But you have to keep ready all those things.
So the exam will be at 8 p.m.
Yeah. So 8:05 we will start after 5 minutes. Okay. Any question? Okay. So after the class, I will just the state space or the step, those things, whatever we have discussed. So some examples I will show in the MATLAB, and then I will conclude the module 3. And tomorrow Somnath sir also, after his class, he may take something. So he may give some example of automotive system with respect to this.
Hello. I think it's better that you take, because mass spring damper is basics. Automotive systems are maybe a little bit heavier, will be a little bit advanced. So I think once you complete the mass spring damper system or some other simpler systems, I think then it makes sense to talk about a little bit more detailed things. That's what I feel actually.
Okay.
So maybe on Friday we can
Saturday
continue with so maybe on Friday tomorrow you can continue after the class test. You can continue with the mass spring damper systems and the basic things, and then the automotive systems or whatever you call it, some advanced systems. Maybe I'll teach subsequent to that.
Okay. Okay. So you have any specific doubts? Okay, if not, then we will stop today. And so till today, whatever we have discussed, so that will be the syllabus for my portion. Okay, on Saturday. Okay, thank you.